What is up, amigos? Today we're talking about convertible aerodynamics. We'll be going through the major differences between convertibles and regular cars, as well as common flow control devices you see on convertibles and drag penalties potentially of convertibles. So for a regular car's aerodynamics, we have the front here, then the windscreen, and then the roof, and then the back. And we know from previous videos, such as this video here, that the flow comes in, hits the front, goes up around, go over the roof, and then depending on the back angle here, it may detach or it may stay attached. And if it detaches, then we do get quite a big wake here, and usually a wake behind here as well. For a convertible though, we have the same front, but then we obviously have no roof. And then we have the back starting here, and then we might have some headrests and some people here happy driving along, and they're tiny for some reason. Anyway, the flow comes, hits the front, goes over the windshield, and now because there is no roof, it just shoots over, and we have now two distinct flows. We have the one inside the cabin here, and then the one around the outside. And even though the flow here is actually going this direction, which is the same as the direction, your opposite direction that you're traveling, the flow that's in this cabin part actually recirculates back and comes the other way. So that's why when you're in a convertible, often you'll feel air coming on the back of your head and the neck, whereas at the front you don't have nearly as much flow hitting your face and the front of your head. It's more shielded by this front windshield. So this results in a much bigger wake for this convertible here, and even here we get a slightly bigger wake sometimes, so, as opposed to here where we only have a smaller wake here and a regular sized wake here. So in terms of flow control devices to control what's happening over this convertible, usually these flow control devices are mainly aimed at driver comfort. So the most common one that is since probably the last 10 years or so is this panel at the back of the car behind the drivers and the passenger. So what this is literally just a piece of plastic or a mesh screen or something like that. Mercedes often use mesh screens, but they can be plastic as well. These panels that span the entire width of the car, including the with the headrests, and then that panel is the entire back pretty much blocked off. So what this does is the flow that comes around can't actually come through this panel. So now we have effectively the cabin, which is separated from this recirculation zone here. That means that the flow that the driver and passenger are seeing is much lower. We still get quite a big wake here, and if the panel is bigger, that does not necessarily mean better, because what this does is it actually makes this flow separate, this flow here, move up a little bit. And this is because we have flow around here, and unlike having no panel where the flow can sort of distribute along this region, it can only stay here, so it sort of gets bunched up and goes higher. That subsequently results in this fast moving flow having to move up as well to accommodate this slow moving flow as well. But if you go too small with this panel, then obviously you won't have this airflow being blocked off. It will come through a bit more. So there's a delicate balancing act where putting this panel in can potentially increase the wake size here and then the pressure drag resulting from there. Another major flow control device that we do see is this front little panel up here. And this is an extension of the windshield effectively, but it's not usually clear. It's usually just like a piece of plastic or something, or it can be a mesh screen as well. And what this does is its idea is to like sort of join this fast moving flow with the slow moving flow here. So this difference between fast moving flow and slow moving flow is not so exact. It's more like a wishy-washy line where they sort of bleed into each other. What this does is it can reduce the drag of the car, but also reduce this phenomenon here of separation. Now this is fairly common, but they're usually not that big and not that visible. Like often people think, oh, they're just like some visors or something like that, but they do have that effect. And having this mesh screen is a bit more effective often because it allows flow to come through and bleed in a little bit more. As with the mesh screen with this panel, if it is meshed, then the flow can come through a little bit, so there's not this harsh stop in the flow. Now, in terms of drag penalties for convertibles, generally for the drag coefficient, we see an increase of about 30%. And this ranges from maybe 15% is the lower end, 45, 50% is the higher end, but around 30% is average. So if you're cruising around at low speeds, you don't have to worry about it, but at high speeds, then that becomes quite a big effect. It has quite a big effect on your fuel consumption. So that is the aerodynamics of a convertible. If you want to see more like this, check out this video here. And if you like this, make sure to like it and click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, amigos.